How could I ever get down there? I need to tie this around my waist. No, that's not right. 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 Perfect. I could tie the end of the rope to this. That should hold. Now what's the next step? Well, here goes nothing. Whoa! I could tie the end of the rope to this. That should hold. Now what's the next step? Well, here goes nothing. Whoa! I could tie the end of the rope to this. That should hold. Now what's the next step? Well, here goes nothing. Whoa! I could tie the end of the rope to this. That should hold. Now what's the next step? Well, here goes nothing. Whoa! could tie the end of the rope to this. That should hold. Now what's the next step? Well, here goes nothing. Whoa! I could tie the end of the rope to this. That should hold. Now what's the next step? Well, here goes nothing. Whoa! I could tie the end of the rope to this. That should hold. Now what's the next step? Well, here goes nothing. Whoa! I could tie the end of the rope to this. That should hold. Now what's the next step? Well, here goes nothing. At least I'm all set in case I have to go back up. I wonder where this goes. I hope it leads to the caves where Evelyn and her dad are being held. It's locked. Alas, poor York. I knew him, Horatio. I think I'll save this path for another day. Someone has definitely used this entrance quite a bit. It's locked. That one doesn't fit. That one doesn't fit. This looks promising. It's locked. It's stuck. Perhaps it needs some oil. It's still stuck. It looks like I need to let this oil soak in for a few minutes and try again. Perhaps if I go back down, I can look around and see if I missed anything. Where did all this water come from? Oh no, the tide must be coming in. There's no way I can swim out against the tide. I certainly hope that trapdoor opens. It's the only way out now. It budged, but not enough. That one fits, but it doesn't turn. If I just keep pushing, maybe I can get it open. Run!
Jane!
How did you get here? And how did you find me trapped in the tunnel?
I was flying home about 3 weeks ago and had engine trouble. Fortunately, I spotted this island and managed to set the plane down. As for finding you, it was pure luck. I was exploring this new cave I found and heard tapping on this trap door. When I opened it, there you were.
You've been here 3 weeks?
Yes, I checked out the whole island when I was first stranded, but haven't been back over to this side until today. Lucky for me and for you, too.
Definitely for me.
But how did you get here?
It started when your dad and Evelyn had not heard from you for some time. We decided to take the Wander out for a shakedown and head over to Sydney. But we encountered a storm and smugglers and ended up stranded here on this island too.
Evelyn and Dad are here, too.
Yes, but I just discovered that today.
What?
When the storm hit, we were being pursued by smugglers. I was below deck securing everything when I hit my head, passed out, and fell under my bunk. When I came to, the Wanderer had washed ashore here on the island, and I found in your dad's journal that the smugglers had taken him and Evelyn captive.
But you say they're here now.
Yes. Evidently, this island is one of the smugglers' bases of operation, and the smugglers locked them up here. I just found out where they are being held and was heading to get them out. The smugglers are supposed to return tonight, so we don't have a lot of time.
Well, what do we do now?
I have this map which I think shows us where your dad and Evelyn are being held. I managed to communicate with your dad by tapping on a pipe using Morse code, and they are both unharmed. Let me show you on this map. Okay, I think we are about here. It looks like there is some type of hidden or special door here. The trick seems to be that you have to activate the door from this spot and this spot at the same time. I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to do that, but with both of us, we should be able to make it work.
I think you're right. This looks like quite an elaborate layout the smugglers have here.
I think this is the way.
I'm right behind you.
This looks like the place. I'll look for the keypad on this side of the door if you'll check the other side. I found it!
I've located mine too. What's next? Do we enter the codes at the same time?
Yes, that's what it looks like on the map. We've done it!
Let's find Dad and Evelyn. Jane, over here! I found them, but we need a key to get this door open.
On my way! It's locked. Let's try again. I've got it.
Good on you.
Jane, I'm so glad to see you. Ron, where did you come from?
Are you all right, Evelyn?
Yes, we're fine, but how did you get here?
I was flying back to New Zealand and had engine trouble and landed on this island about 3 weeks ago. I just discovered that Jane was here, and since then we've been working to get you out of there.
I can't thank you enough for rescuing us.
If we don't want this to be a temporary rescue, we're going to have to act fast. The pirates are returning tonight.
That certainly is a problem. I would suggest we try to retreat and hide out, but I know they will come looking for us once they see that we are gone.
I've made a couple of discoveries that might give us a way to fight back.
Sounds good to me. What do you have in mind?
Well, first we have to find a way to disable their ship and then capture them before they can mount an attack on us.
Having been aboard their ship, that is going to be a tall order.
Yes, there are quite a few of them.
We have a couple of strategic advantages. When the smugglers came to make certain the lighthouse beacon would be functioning, I overheard them talking about the beacon being remote controlled using the radio.
I think I saw one of those beacons advertised a few months back.
Yes, the beacon seems really new. I considered disabling it, but then I realized that would just delay matters and they would be sure to know I was on the island. The smugglers' plan is to come into the cove at night to hide out and refuel after plundering a cargo ship carrying a bunch of gold dory bars.
They're taking a lot of dory bars out of the Golden Mile mines, so that should be quite a haul for the smugglers.
But then I had an idea that might work. Behind the lighthouse there is a hill called Lookout Point that rises to about the same height as the lighthouse. The entrance to the cove is fairly narrow. I thought if we moved the beacon from the lighthouse back up onto the hill, it would lure the smuggler's boat onto the rocks at the base of the lighthouse.
I think that might work. I've seen the cove and the lighthouse, and the captain could easily end up with a ship on the rocks if he thought the lighthouse was where the hill is.
The beacon is powered by pressurized oxygen and acetylene tanks, but I think you and Mr. Berkeley could easily move them.
That sounds like a workable plan, but then what do we do when the smugglers storm ashore?
Yes, the last thing we need is that bunch of angry smugglers after us.
I think I may have a way to handle the smugglers. It all depends on what the mechanical problems were that forced Ron to land.
The problem is fairly simple. I have a split in my fuel line. But where are you going to get a new fuel line on this island? And not to mention, I need more gas.
If that's the only problem, I know where a crate full of what looks like fuel line is located. Also, I know where the smugglers' fuel supply is hidden, so we'll have no problem with gas for your airplane.
Well, now that that's solved, what's the rest of your plan?
The final part involves a mixture of kava kava and acetone, which is supposed to make dream gas, according to a book I found named History of Japanese Pirates.
I've heard of that. It's supposed to have been very effective.
In my exploring the caves used by the smugglers, I found the ingredients needed to make dream gas and have a number of beakers ready to use. I had thought to use them as a last resort if I was found by the smugglers.
You really have been busy, haven't you, Jane?
It has been hectic and a bit scary, but now that I have found all of you, things are looking a lot brighter. The last part of my plan is to wait for the smugglers to wreck their ship, and then go up with Ron in his airplane, and as the smugglers come ashore, drop the beakers from the plane on the beach, putting the smugglers to sleep.
That might just work, and while they are asleep, we can tie them up. The only problem I see is how to manage them long term.
The good news is the Wanderer was washed up on the next beach over during the storm, and appears to be undamaged. The only difficulty is that the smugglers broke the radio tubes when they took you and Evelyn captive, so I haven't been able to call for help.
That's great news about the Wanderer.
I know we don't have much time, but I thought it might be worthwhile to at least check out the labels on the crates in the storeroom and see if there is any radio equipment here.
Okay, let's split up, gang, and give this warehouse a quick once-over.
Nothing back here.
Same over here, nothing.
No luck so far.
Nothing useful here. Nothing useful here. I think I have something here. I'll pry off the lid and see for sure.
There's a good chance these will work. There are ones that are commonly used.
Okay, I have a couple of the tubes, and since I know the quickest way back to the Wanderer, I'll take these and see if I can get the radio to work and contact the Coast Guard. It's a long shot, but it's worth a try. Meanwhile, Mr. Berkeley, if you take this wrench and go with Ron to the lighthouse, you could move the pressure tanks to Lookout Point and have Evelyn bring the beacon.
That's sound planning and a good start on capturing those smugglers.
Okay, I'll rendezvous with you at Lookout Point as soon as I find out if I can get the radio to work.
Let's get going.
Be careful, Jane.
I will. Well, they both fit. So far, so good. Now to put this back in its place. Excellent. Now let's see if it works. Stellar. Let's see now. While this warms up, what was the frequency for the Coast Guard? So far, so good. At least the radio comes on. I know I saw a pamphlet about the Coast Guard and the Royal Navy. I just need to remember where it was. This is it. It looks like I need to set the frequency to 575. Everything's all set. I wish I could call for help now, but I dare not, as the smugglers are probably monitoring this frequency to try and keep track of any Royal Navy ships that might be in the area. I hope when I do call there's a ship close enough to provide aid, or things could get very unpleasant. Now that we're certain that the radio is working, I had best turn it off so as not to take a chance on one of the tubes burning out. Perfect. Well, all that's left is to get back and see if Mr. Berkeley and Ron have managed to get the lighthouse beacon relocated. It's too far to jump to the ground from here.
Jane, did the tubes work in the radio?
Like a charm. Were there any problems moving the beacon?
No problems at all. We're all set to take a bit of revenge on those smugglers. I can't say I will have any remorse at seeing their ship wrecked on the rocks.
I completely agree with you.
We should be done here shortly. Now, how about that tubing for my gas line?
It's over in the cave off the room with the light panel in it. I'll head over now, and you can meet me there as soon as you finish here.
Sounds like a plan. I'll be right over.
See you there. It's locked. You got here quickly.
We finished up with the beacon faster than we expected.
Will this tubing work for you?
Definitely, that is standard fuel line and is just what I need to repair the plane.
I have a knife which you can use to cut off as much fuel line as you need. I'll head down to the main cave where the smugglers have their fuel stored and get the door open while you finish up here.
Perfect.
It's locked. That one doesn't fit. That one doesn't fit.
Amazing. The smugglers have a lot of fuel here. No wonder they're coming back here tonight.
I was startled when I first opened the door and saw all their storage.
They must have been using this for quite a while and hijacked a number of fuel transport ships.
I hope you can find the type of gas you need for the plane.
If I can't find it here, they probably don't make it.
While you check out the supplies, I'll go on down the tunnel to the grotto. I have a surprise for you there.
What type of surprise?
Let's just say it's the kind of surprise you'll find very moving.
I can hardly wait.
All I have to do is backcheck to the cart and I'm all set. It's locked. This lock is stuck. This lock is stuck. This lock is stuck. This lock is stuck. I hope the tide has gone back out. Great! It looks like the tide is out. I'm glad this didn't wash out with the tide. Let's see. If I understand rappelling correctly, I should be able to go back up this cliff. Wow, this rappelling is a lot of fun. I need to go back over and meet Ron. There's still a lot to do before tonight.
This is amazing.
We call this the Jane Darcy Transport Service, courtesy of your friendly smugglers.
Where does this go?
It can take us to the other side of the island, up to the lighthouse, and even over to the cliff where the pirates bring their boat in at high tide to put cargo in their warehouse.
You really have been busy.
As a bee.
In In that case, can you buzz me to the other side of the island?
At your service. Just hop in behind me and prepare for a wild ride. For your safety, keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the cart at all times.
You have an excellent future as a tour guide. What a rush! Who would have guessed you would find this on an island?
Just part of our island service to keep our guests happy.
I'm going to head over and replace the fuel line on my plane.
I'll take the cart back to the grotto and then let Mr. Berkeley and Evelyn know how things are shaping up. I'll leave the generator running so you can use the cart.
That would be perfect. I can use the cart to transport the fuel I need.
Just pull that lever and it will activate the cart and return it.
Your island transport service has thought of everything.
As soon as we know the smugglers have wrecked their ship, I will call the Royal Navy and meet you here.
I'll have my plane here ready to go.
See you then, and keep your fingers crossed.
You know it.
We have a long night ahead of us. Now to get back and check on Evelyn and Mr. Berkeley.
How did everything go with Ron?
Ron says the tubing will work, and I showed him where the smugglers keep their gas. I took him to the other side of the island, and as soon as he gets his fuel line fixed, he will take the fuel over and gas up his plane.
That's great news. Now the hard part starts, waiting to see if the pirates show up tonight and if they take the bait of our relocated lighthouse beacon.
Yes, and what do we do if they don't show up until tomorrow sometime?
When I overheard the smugglers talking, they seemed pretty confident they would be arriving during the night. I think it is part of their plan to make sure they avoid the British Navy. It is only by operating at night that they managed to stay one step ahead of our boys.
Oh yes, the smugglers must have had a fair amount of luck up to this point to avoid our Navy, but I feel their time has run out.
I completely agree. If by some chance they do make it into the harbor with their ship in one piece, we may still be able to effectively neutralize them with the dream gas.
Yes, and as a last resort, we can retreat and hide on this island. While not our first choice, we are by no means without a path of retreat, should that become absolutely necessary.
All in all, I feel pretty good about our situation. We are far from helpless.
By the way, Jane, I have been quite curious to know how you managed to avoid the smugglers when we were taken prisoner.
It was mostly Providence. I was getting my foul weather gear when the boat lurched to one side and I fell and struck my head and was knocked out. So after exploring the island for several days, I had resigned myself to being stranded here all alone, until I heard your tapping on the pipe.
Yes, when we heard the tapping in reply, we didn't know whether to be excited or not.
That is exactly what I thought. I was quite afraid that I had revealed my presence on the island to the smugglers.
You can imagine our joy when we found that you were on the other end of the pipe. While we had plenty of food and water, we were nonetheless quite worried the smugglers would come back with outrageous demands, and at the same time worried they wouldn't come back.
Well, we are in a much better position now that we're all together. As soon as the smugglers turn this beacon on using their radio, I will go back to the boat and get ready to call the Navy.
Right, and then we'll signal you that the smugglers have wrecked their ship by putting out the beacon.
And keep your fingers crossed the Navy will hear our call.
If they don't, we're going to have a busy time either trying to keep that gang of smugglers locked up or hiding out from them if the dream gas does not work.
All that's left to execute our plan is to wait.
And in the worst case, I have decided to give them the location where the Inception went down with its valuable cargo, including the Star of Samar.
Are you sure?
Yes, but I will give them that information only after I have assured everyone's safety. But we needn't worry about that now. We have a lot of options before we have to play that card.
I don't know about everyone else, but I'm beginning to get stiff waiting for those smugglers to show up.
Me too.
I believe that's your cue, Jane. We'll soon know if our plan will work.
I'm off.
Be ever so careful, Jane.
I will. Definitely see the beacon. Everything looks great. First thing I need to do is get the radio warmed up. All set. Now all I have to do is watch for the signal. I wonder what's happening now. I hope Evelyn and Mr. Berkeley are okay. That's my signal. CQ, CQ, CQDX, CQ, CQ, CQDX. This is the Wanderer, calling British or Australian Royal Navy ships or shore installation. The Wanderer is beached on an island located at 37 degrees, 40 minutes, 50 seconds south, 163 degrees, 26 minutes, 50 seconds east. Again, the Wanderer is beached on an island located at 37 degrees, 40 minutes, 50 seconds south, 163 degrees, 26 minutes, 50 seconds east. We need assistance as soon as possible as we anticipate the imminent return of smugglers. This is the Wanderer. Over. I better try again. CQ, CQ, CQDX, CQ, CQ, CQDX. This is the Wanderer, calling British or Australian Royal Navy ships or shore installation. The Wanderer is beached on an island located at 37 degrees, 40 minutes, 50 seconds south, 163 degrees, 26 minutes, 50 seconds east. Again, the Wanderer is beached on an island located at 37 degrees, 40 minutes, 50 seconds south, 163 degrees, 26 minutes, 50 seconds east. We need assistance as soon as possible as we anticipate the imminent return of smugglers. This is the Wanderer. Over. I hope someone is hearing my message.
We hear you just fine, Missy. The imminent return of the smugglers you're calling about is at hand. We know you've tricked us with the beacon and wrecked our ship. So don't worry your pretty little head about the Navy, because none of those boys are even close to this island. But we're here, and we're on our way over to help you.
Well, now we're in for it. It's now or never. I hope Ron is waiting with the plane and ready to go. Looks like the sun is starting to come up.
Glad to see you. How's it going with the smugglers?
Well, their ship is wrecked, but I received no answer from the Navy ships, and I have even worse news.
What's that?
The smugglers intercepted my transmission and said there are no Navy ships in the area and that they are now out to get us.
We're ready for takeoff. Do you know how to prop the plane?
Yes, I sure do.
Then let's get going and take the fight to those smugglers before they can get a foothold on this island. Switch off.
Switch off.
Throttle back.
Throttle back.
Brakes on.
Brakes on.
Switch on.
Switch on.
Throttle set.
Throttle set.
Clear.
Clear.
Contact.
Contact. It looks like we're all set.
Let's give them something to think about.
The sky and sea are quite breathtaking from up here.
It never gets old.
Once we have this difficult task behind us and are once again safe, we have to do this again.
You know it.
How long will it take before we are over the smugglers?
We'll be there before you know it.
I hope the dream gas works.
I'm sure it will. From what you described, there's no reason it should fail. There they are. We're ready to make our first pass now.
I'll have the dream gas ready.
Better get your window open. It's time. great shot.
It looks like it's working.
Great aim, Jane. We're coming around for another pass now.
This is nerve-wracking. Ready.
You're doing great. We're coming around for another pass now.
Whew. Another pass complete. Ready. I wonder how Evelyn and your dad are doing.
If I know Dad, he's got rope and is waiting to finish off the smugglers as soon as we make our last pass.
He is always so prepared. I'm sure you're right.
Coming around for another pass now.
Ready. I think that takes care of all the smugglers.
It looks that way to me too. All that's left is for Dad and Evelyn to tie them up.
Right you are. Let's hope the smugglers don't smell too bad.
Good point. They should have plenty of time to air out on the beach before they come to.
Let's go land so we can get over there and help out, just in case we're needed.
On our way.
Perfect three-point landing. You really are a good pilot.
Lots of practice carrying the mail, and I haven't lost a package yet.
Well, this package is impressed.
First thing we need to do is get the plane tied down. We don't want to come back over to this side of the island and see the plane flipped over by the wind.
Without a doubt.
There's tie-down anchors right behind your seat. If you'll grab one and take care of this wing, I'll take care of the other one.
I've got it.
Just screw it into the ground below the tie-down loop on the wing.
Will do.
Then take a piece of rope and tie the wing to the anchor using bowline knots.
I definitely know how to tie a bowline. All done.
All set here.
Then let's get going. I really want to check on Evelyn and your dad and see what's happening.
I totally agree.
Ready?
Ready when you are.
Let's get going.
Right behind you. Keep a close eye out in case any of the pirates got off the beach and are hiding in the caves. Jane, look out!
Look out! Ron! Duck!
That should hold him.
You made quick work of him. I don't think he's going to be the captain of any more boats for a while.
All in a day's work, ma'am.
I hope he's the only one that escaped.
Not exactly the type to go down with his ship.
Well, on to the beach. I wonder who that man is there with your dad.
From the uniform he's wearing, I'd say he's with the Navy.
Let's find out.
Captain McLeod, this is my son Ron, and the daughter of a close family friend, Miss Jane Darcy. Captain McLeod, my son Ron Berkeley.
Good to meet you, Captain McLeod.
Good to meet you as well. Miss Jane Darcy, may I present Captain McLeod of the HMS Renown. Captain McLeod, may I present Miss Jane Darcy of Pemberley. I believe I am acquainted with your father, Miss Darcy. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
I have heard my father speak of you, and the pleasure is mine.
Mr. Berkeley informs me you were the one who targeted these smugglers with gas, rendering them incapacitated.
It was really Ron's skill in the air that made it possible.
It appears that all of you deserve a great deal of credit in the capture of these smugglers. We have been after them for quite a while.
How did you discover our plight? I didn't think my message on the radio got through.
Such are the vagaries of wireless. Your message was picked up by one of our shore stations in Australia, and then eventually relayed to our ship, which was in the immediate vicinity.
We are indeed fortunate.
After receiving the message, we made flank speed and arrived offshore shortly after your bombing run. While you and Ron were landing the plane, we came ashore in landing boats and assisted Mr. Berkeley and his daughter Evelyn by taking the smugglers into custody. They are now safely in the brig on the Renown.
We have one more smuggler for you. It seems the captain managed to evade the gas and make his way into the caves. When we were returning from landing the plane, we encountered the captain in the cave you see behind us, and Ron made short work of him.
Congratulations, Mr. Berkeley. You look like a young man who could take care of himself.
Thank you very much, Captain McLeod. I believe your men will find the head of the smugglers trussed up and ready to be taken on board at your convenience.
You may leave that to us.
Additionally, the smugglers have used the cave to store much of the cargo they have taken. I have a map of the caves here, which should make finding and removing the cargo a simple process. Let me give them to you.
Thank you, Miss Darcy. This will make our task an easy one.
You are very welcome. One additional item. While stranded here, 2 of the smugglers came ashore, and I overheard them discussing attacking a ship loaded with dory bars before returning here. I believe if you investigate the smugglers' wrecked ship, you will find that cargo of dory bars still there.
This is indeed excellent news, as many people depend on the income from dory bars for their livelihood. The loss of them would have been a significant burden for many families and businesses. We will have cargo ships here under our direction for some weeks, sorting out all the goods the smugglers have cached on this island, and of course, performing the salvage from their wrecked ship.
I'm so pleased I have been able to assist in the capture of the smugglers.
From what Mr. Berkeley has already told me, it appears that your daring and forethought have been more than a little instrumental in this happy outcome. Now, as to the next order of business, I need to inform you that a tropical cyclone is forming that should pass to the south of this island by no later than tomorrow morning. So if you could with some haste gather up your belongings, we can take you on board and back to civilization.
Do you know if the storm surge will be significant as it passes this island?
Indeed, I should think it should be significant.
I know it would involve some risk and would be up to you and Mr. Berkeley, but the Wanderer was not damaged when stranded ashore during the last storm, and with any luck, we might be able to ride the storm surge out and save the Wanderer from becoming a derelict and possibly a hazard in the shipping lanes.
That would be a daring endeavor. What do you think of it, Mr. Berkeley? The Wanderer is almost new and has already proven to be a fine ship. If there is a reasonable chance of salvaging her, I would like to make the effort. I probably shouldn't permit this, but as you have all shown yourselves so resourceful in the capture of the smugglers, if you have the heart for it, I will hold just out of the storm's path and remain prepared for rescue operations if necessary. That is more than we could ask for. Well, get to it, man. You have lots to do.
You are more than gracious. Let's go. It has certainly been a long day.
Yes, it's hard to believe it was just early this morning that the smugglers were captured.
The important thing is that we have the Wanderer ready to move out with the storm surge. As soon as Ron and your dad finish making their final check on the engine, I'm sure they're going to be expecting something for supper.
You're right, we need to get busy on that.
Before we do, I still have one question. I kept finding checker pieces in the cave. Did you and your dad have anything to do with that?
We did. When we were taken by the smugglers, I grabbed some of the checkers, thinking they might come in handy. You might call it my Hansel and Gretel moment. So while we were held captive, I would periodically try rolling one of the checkers down a shaft. I wasn't sure where the shaft led, but as we were rather desperate, I was hoping the checkers would end up somewhere they might be found.
Indeed, I found them on the floor of the main cave, and they had me puzzled. But now that I know the story, they will be all the more special to me.
Me too, and our checker games will be even more fun because of it.
If the Wanderers refloated, this will be our last meal ashore for several weeks. We should make the most of it. How about we get a fire started on the beach and cook up some of the steaks I saw in the cold storage?
Excellent idea. I can't imagine what Ron and Dad would like better.
Let's get busy collecting things and make this a meal we can remember.
Jane and Evelyn, that was fabulous. You can cook for me anytime.
You're just saying that because you've been stranded on an island for 3 weeks and have had to eat your own cooking.
Not at all. I agree with Ron. You two have prepared a variable feast for us with only what was available in our ship's stores.
You are just flattering us so that we will keep feeding you for the rest of the trip.
There may be some truth to that, but this was a meal to remember.
I know you can't be hungry, Dad, so why are you roasting hot dogs?
I was thinking about our next few weeks, and thought it would be great if we had some hot dogs cooked over the fire that you could warm up and we could remember this wonderful evening.
You're such a sentimentalist, Dad.
It looks like the storm and surge is starting. Jane, you should go below and get your foul weather gear on.
Great idea. I'm starting to get wet already.
Everything looks good, but of course we have some last-minute preparations to take care of. Just remember, anything we want to have when the storm passes must be secured. Jane, while you are making things secure below, could you make one last check and make sure the ports and windows are closed?
No problem. I'll check the ports. another one shut. Somehow this all seems so familiar. Well, time to get back on deck. Dear Nixie, since I last wrote you about our return to civilization after having a wonderful cruise and a chance to have some unscheduled alone time on the island, we now had the opportunity to spend some time in Australia and take care of unfinished business. One of the first things we did was visit the Gold Coast Sanctuary and reinstate Yakupu to his normal status of star. It turns out Yakupu was part of a group of animals that were going on a tour to raise awareness for the importance of sanctuaries. The smugglers had intercepted the ship Yakupu was on and then dumped the cargo on their island. The sanctuary has sent a recovery team to the island to remove the other animals, one of which I am glad to say will be a rather large articulated python. I already miss Yakupu as we had become such good friends, but I know I can always visit him. One consolation is I believe he has now found a cute girl koala, so I may get to meet a whole family of Yakupus the next time I come to the sanctuary. As I mentioned in my last letter, after we refloated the Wanderer, we sailed around to the other side of the island and dropped Ron off. He then flew his plane back to Australia to meet us here. The great news is that Ron now has his new plane, which makes it possible for him to both haul more mail with each trip and have far fewer fuel stops on any particular route. He is really excited and is already planning to get another plane and hire someone to fly it. It looks like he's going to make a great success with his mail business. Mr. Berkeley is planning an expedition to recover the Star of Samar, and I believe Evelyn has convinced him that she should get to go along. She is so excited. And now for the most amazing news. It turns out that both Australia and New Zealand have been trying to apprehend Captain Horatio and his band of smugglers for some time. In addition, the Gold Mile Mines Group were extremely appreciative to have not lost their cargo of dory bars. The Royal Navy has been amazingly efficient at repatriating all of the stolen cargo that the smugglers had stored on their island to the rightful owners. As reward for our part in bringing down the smuggling gang, His Majesty has decided to award title to our island jointly to the Berkeley and Darcy families. So our next task is to decide on a name for our island so that it can be properly labeled on all the maritime charts. We have to plan on a time when you and Rag can come and we can have a special vacation there. I would so love showing you both around. Because of all the notoriety surrounding this, Papa wrote to say that he sees more of me in the newspapers than at home. I suppose this means I should make sure to set out for Pemberley as soon as I can. Love, Jane.